Our guest is the founder of Melia by Jade, a double hat she wears while also being a senior associate at a leading impact investment firm in Lagos, Nigeria. Melia by Jade is a clothing brand established out of love. Love for art, for culture, for clothes, for all things beautiful. Established in 2017, Melia by Jade offers a mixture of old vintage art with modern functional pieces that appeal to the contemporary woman, making every woman see the fun and chic side of herself. She has a background in television production, working as a producer for several years with Moments with Mo, Africa's first syndicated talk show. She studied history and diplomatic studies at Olabisi Onabanjo University and has certifications from the Harvard Business School, Online, and Lagos Business School.
Hello, and welcome. My guest today is Jade Solarawa. Jade, so nice of you to join us. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Meet the Entrepreneurs, basically. So how are you doing, Jade?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited to be here.
Fantastic. Thank you. So we're going to start from the very beginning, right? Like from the very, very beginning. And I know you're a fashion entrepreneur and someone who likes to explore your creative self, basically. So tell me, how did this all start? The name of your company is Melia by Jade. So how did you get started with becoming an entrepreneur, basically, and a fashion entrepreneur for that level?
Okay, that's an interesting question. So I'm going to give you like the short version of it. Started about 8 years ago. If someone had told me that I would ever be an entrepreneur, I'd have said never, because I never thought I was cut out for anything of the sort. But it started, and I just thought, I just wanted to take a break from working 9 to 5 for people. And one of the first things I thought after taking a break for a minute, because I'm one of those active people, I was like, oh, let me go into cleaning, because, I have a bit of I need everything to be prim and proper kind of thing. That didn't work out. And then the next thing was, okay, I love fashion, but I also knew that I didn't want to sell clothes. I knew that whatever I was going to do was going to have like the social angle to it, like, some sort of like social entrepreneurship where I'm contributing my quota to the economy as opposed to just importing clothes and selling them, and, a holiday, a chance meeting with one Oyibo woman who loved my Adire robe. She liked it. I was like, oh, I'll make you one when I get back to my country. Came back to the country, fulfilled that promise, made something. My aunt saw it and said, oh, I really like this. And I can I'll wear this to the airport tonight. For real, you'd pay me for it. Paid me 10K for the first jacket we made. And the rest, like they say, is history. So yeah, just started making things. Family and friends first started liking and buying. And 8 years on, I think we are growing into something that honestly beyond my wildest dreams. So yeah, that's kind of like how the foray into the started.
Yeah, and it's so amazing how for a lot of us, if you had asked us if we will be entrepreneurs, we'll have said never. But here we
Yep.
are
Like
today,
I would
right?
like capital never,
So is
capital
it a
never.
case of simply exploring that creative side or taking advantage of the opportunity to earn additional income? What exactly is it?
So it's interesting because over the years it has evolved, right? Like I mentioned earlier, I was in between jobs at a point where I just quit my last job and I didn't have something else lined up, and I just thought, I just want to breathe. I just want to take a minute. But about 3 or so months into me starting to do Melia, a job opportunity came for a 9 to 5, and the pay was decent. I was like, I'm going to do this. So when I started that, as of that period, Melia was still very much a hobby-like thing. It was just something I enjoyed doing that people were willing to pay me money for. But there was no structure to it. There was no thought behind it. There was nothing. And I remember in maybe a few months into my new job, I'm earning a salary again. Life is good. And, I'm becoming a bit more stressed because, there's now demand from this end and there's the demand from this job. And I remember thinking, Melia is just like money for Maggie and money for salt, when we run out of that in the house, Now I have a decent job, I can quit it. But now I promise you that I believe now that the voice that I heard, that what spoke to me was the Holy Spirit saying, no, you're not going to give that. You're not going to give it up. Because I remember being in the office and distinctly hearing it. Like, no, you will not give it up. You will continue. And 8 years down the line, I promise you, I see clearly why I had to. So now it's gone beyond it was something I started from, oh, let me just do something to fill in the time. Then it went to something that I became very passionate about. Then it went to something that started earning the kind of income that supplemented the income from 9 to 5. And if you're anywhere in Nigeria or Africa, whatever, with inflation and all of that, then you realize that it's really important that you have another source of income. For most of us anyway, unless you're earning millions of dollars and everything. So
yeah,
exactly. So it evolved from it was a hobby into it's a nice to have, into, this thing is doing decently, so it's a good second income earner, to something where I'm looking at it now as potentially a time will probably come when this is like the main thing that I do, and this is my main focus and my main source of income. So it's kind of evolved, as it's evolved in my head, it's also evolved in that sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And, it's just by the side, it's always hard for me to realize that you actually have a 9 to 5 and do this by the side, because when we see you online, social media, you put so much heart and passion into this and the styling, so fantastic. Well done. So yeah, when did you decide that beyond, you earn stable income, working 9 to 5, a very, very nice income, right? And then earning income from Belia as well. When did you decide it was time to get serious with your finances? When exactly did that happen?
Tell me, that's a great question. So to be specific, we're in 2024 now, right? 2021 was when that major life shift happened for me, where I'm like, okay, I need to stop faffing around. Prior to 2021, and let me explain my circumstances prior to that. I was married, and I had a very supportive ex-husband, right, who was fantastic. So all through the years prior to 2021, I had support. So I never worried about school fees. I never worried about this. I never worried about that. I'm going on a holiday that I didn't pay for, all of those kind of things. So I was living la vida loca, so to speak, And then so my income, both from the business and from my 9 to 5, I've always just faffed around with. That's the best way to put it. I just, I do what I want to do, when I want to do it, how I want to do it. And then never had a thought for, what's, and then 2021 happens, and, my ex-husband passes away, and life as I knew it kind of stopped. And I'm thinking, oh my Lord, I have responsibilities now that I never had before. And I think that was when it hit me. It was not the kind of mindset shift that I would wish on anybody, but it was my reality and my mindset shift. And I think that was the moment where I knew that, okay, something has to give, because I have a business that I've been bringing in decent side income, but I didn't even know where the money was going to. I couldn't account for anything. Do you know what I mean? My 9 to 5, I couldn't really account for that either. Do you know what I mean? And I was just in a place where I was like, oh my God, it was a rude reality check for me. And that was the moment when I said, okay, something has to shift. There's nothing like when life slaps you, goes that's your head. Factory reset. I had a factory reset. I think that's what it was. I had a factory reset in 2021, and that was, I would say, the beginning of my life when it comes to finances. So yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, because it happens to every one of us. We just get that wake-up call, and you just realize that you better start getting better with your money. Like all those years of spending without tracking, but I'm just always grateful that, we get the wake-up call at the right time. And maybe when it's not too late, although it's hard to define when exactly it's too late, but getting the wake-up call at the right time. So yes, it was a wake-up call for you, and it was time to get serious with your finances. But did you actually get serious with your finances? What were the steps you took?
Thank you. To me, that's a great question. Did I actually get serious? I had to. Life forced me to get serious. Do you know what I mean? I had to start I had to sit myself down and say, where's all my money? Where's all this money? Where's it gone? So I had to start taking a really hard look at what was coming in, at what I was spending, why I was spending it. But I would say that between 2021, because 2021 was a tough year. I've lost a very good friend of mine. My daughter's lost her father. our life as we knew it, our lives as we knew it had changed. So I think just dealing with all of that was, what we did in 2021. But I think in 2022, a chance conversation with a very good friend of mine who also, as of that time, used to have a 9 to 5 and also ran a business. And I think it was towards the end of the year. And she and I were just having a conversation. And she said to me, she said, oh, my business, my side business brought in X amount of money at the end of the year. And I think that was the first time it hit me like, what am I even making? What was my business making? And I remember going to look at my books, and I don't know if we can mention figures and all of that. And I remember going to look at my books and the business had done about 22, was it 22, 28, 20, about 28 I think, at the end of that year. And I was like, oh, Jesus, where is this money? I mean, the books tell me exactly. The books tell me that this is what we've done, but where is it? So and that was 2022 was that moment where I was like, oh my goodness, I have to start tracking. Also, something, sometimes the Bible says, out of the mouth of babe, right? That's what the Bible says. I remember going for a pop-up one time. I think it was around that same 2022 period. And at the end of the pop-up, I'm exhausted. I can barely walk. It's been a long day. And my daughter came in and she said to me, she said, oh, did you sell? And I was like, oh, it was decent. And she goes, what was your target? And I was like,
did you have a
and she's
target?
like, Mommy, how do you not have a target?
Huh?
And that hit me, those two things were kind of like the things that, because I said to myself, Jade, it's true. How do you not have a target for what you're hoping to sell and all of that? And so, those were like, those moments where like the light bulb went. But in terms of doing something about it, in 2020, I can't remember now, the years are getting this thing, but 2022, looking at what we've made and realizing that, oh, there's potential here to do more, that hit me. My daughter talking to me about targets also hit me. Then I think it was in 2023, early in the year, end of 2022 slash 2023, I was like, okay, something has to give here. I need more information about managing finances than what I have. But I was also very wary and very scared because I was like, here I am, zero financial education, zero. Like I had no clue about anything. So I was very scared of falling into the wrong hands. So what do? I just said to God, I said, okay, dear Lord, the business is bringing in money. I need to know where this money is going to, and I need this money to start working for me. And I need you to send me the right person to help me manage this so that I do the right things. And, this is the funniest story. And it's so interesting that this story involves you, right? Because here is me. My daughter had started school the whole year and she had made a friend. One friend, we had one friend. And anytime there was any competition in my house about friends, it was this one name that we heard every day.
Yeah.
And then, numerous times we hung out with the friend, we had hung out with the friend, we had hung out with the friend, but I'd never met the friend's mom. And here we are, like, one day, very randomly, you had popped into my house, with your daughter after I eventually met you, blah, blah, blah. I had no clue who you were. And one Sunday morning, I wake up, and I'm going through Instagram and I see something about women pulling money together, to invest. And I'm like, oh Lord, this is what I need. This is what I need. So of course I read the story and I'm like, let me trace the person. And I trace the person and it leads me to your Instagram page. And I remember thinking, I don't know if you remember this, when I remember looking at that and I'm thinking, I know this woman. I know this woman. And it was like, oh shoot, this is this person's mom. And I remember screenshotting. I don't know if you remember. I remember screenshotting and sending it to you. And I said, I didn't even say good morning. I didn't even say anything. All I said was, is this you?
You? I remember getting that message. I'm like, oh my God, she's found out who I am. Like, so yeah.
And the way I got excited just now is exactly how excited I was. Like, I literally jumped out of bed. It's like, is this you? And then you responded and you're like, oh, shoot, you found me. And I'm like, thank you, Jesus. And I remember saying to you that it wasn't me that found you, it was the Holy Spirit that found you. And that was it for me because I knew of you. I knew of your expertise and your knowledge and all of that. But I didn't know it was you, right? And all of that. And, it was an answered prayer because what I had said to God was I wanted a female. I wanted somebody that I could trust, someone that was like family, and someone that I could trust 100%. Like, this person has got my back. So it goes beyond just, oh, let me help you manage your money. And here we are, like literally. And I remember messaging you and saying, I don't care if you're taking clients. I don't care if you're not taking clients. You will take me on as a client. I'm family, our kids are besties, and this must happen.
I remember.
And I remember saying to you, I know that I probably can't afford your services, but I'm willing to pay. And please think about it and let me know what you can do for me. And I will look for the money and I will pay, and that was it. And honestly, it's been 2 fantastic years for my finances, because I remember our first meeting, when you took me on as a client. And I remember our first meeting, the first 2 hours, like we didn't talk about money. You talked to me about so many things. And I remember saying to you at the end of it, I was like, you've made my mind see things that I never saw, and things that I never thought was possible.
Yeah.
And it was down the year, like end of last year, that it hit me. I remember when we looked at my target, the target you had set for me. I remember when you set the target for me, I was like, Tommy, am I going to carry AK-47 with this target that you set? Because where's this money going to come from? But I remember looking at the target, later down the year, and I'm thinking, my mind had to be able to see it.
Yeah.
If my mind didn't shift, my mind couldn't see it. There was no way I was going to make this kind of money and hit this kind of target that you set for me. And that was it. And I tell the story and I tell it the way it is, because I don't take decisions outside of the leading of what God tells me to do, especially in things like this, because I come to you like, completely naked and tell you like, I have no clue. But it was important to me to find the right person that was going to hold my hand to make it make sense. When I look at 2022 to 2024, I'm like, whoa.
Wait, what happened? Right. So let me just jump in here. I mean, when you me and I thought, okay, one of the things I try not to do is not to bring my work to anything in terms of my children or family. Like I try to keep it separate. So I was like, oh my God, she's found me, right? And then you literally did not give up. Like I was hoping that you would just be the initial excitement and you would say, okay, maybe she's not really interested. And I had to tell my husband, okay, I think I need to listen to Jade and do this. Right. And I think it was also a wake-up call for me, because prior to that, I didn't really work with one-on-ones. I do one-on-one with clients, right? So I think it was definitely something I needed at that time. And yes, first call, I set a 9-figure target for you. And it was a financial goal at the end of the year. And I remember saying that, Jade, I'm just going to put this number there for you, 9 figures. I just wanted your mind to accept that it is possible. And you said, how, this, that. And guess what? Not only did you meet that target, you went 25% above that target. And it wasn't just in 12 months, it was in 9 months at the end of 2023. And, it's an amazing story, because this is something you are doing it still is a side business. You still run your 9 to 5. So when people say that I don't have the time, yes, Lagos, we live in Lagos, it can be stressful. But this was you saying that I'm going to take this bull by the horn and I'm going to do this. Because one of the things that we also need to talk about is the fact that your business became an opportunity to grow your investment portfolio. So we literally didn't touch your 9 to 5 earnings. It was more like 9 to 5 earnings. But we're going to grow this business and use that business to grow your investment portfolio. And you literally grew your business revenue by 100%. Like 100, if I was like 150%.
Over 100%. Yes, over 100%.
And I think that's what amazes me. The fact that, tell me about the business, because a lot of people I know that you make amazing clothes, right? Adire fashion. And anytime I see, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's going to make me break my budget. I'm even the coach. Because they're always really, really lovely pieces, and the way you style them. You are the best person to style your pieces, really. So tell me about the journey of growing your business. Because, when we set the goal, I thought, what, we're going to make your business fund this goal. And then we now started to look deep into your business, getting your finances in order, sales analysis. So tell me about that story.
Awesome. Yeah. So, like you said, first thing was like, I was really scared, when you set a target for me, because I'm like, how is this even possible? But one of the things about, having the right people around you and hearing the right things, people underestimate how important it is, the things that you take in. just sitting with you, because I looked at it and I said, this chick she's top at what she does. She's good at what she does, speaking to you and your expertise. And I was like, if she looks at me with this business, with everything like I've come to the table with, no shop, no the side business and all of that, and she tells me that there's potential for me to do XYZ, I have to start believing that that is possible. So that was where the game changed. Really was me hearing you say these things to me and me believing that these things are achievable. And not only that, one of the things I loved about it working with you is that you kind of give pointers. You're like, how about this? Should we explore this? Have you looked at this? Have you done this? So it gives me an opportunity to take the things that you've shared, and then I look at it and say, okay, you know what? What's the lowest hanging fruit? Let's go for that first. Now, so to give very practical steps about how this is done, the truth of the matter is this still a side business? Yes. Am I still running out of my home? Yes. Nothing fundamentally has changed, but a lot of things have changed. One of the things that you gave me the what you call it for was looking outside of my immediate circle to run the business. One of the other things also from, talking to you and just that ginger for expansion was the fact that I had gotten, again, everything works together for good, right? I had gotten accepted into an accelerator program called AWEC in 2023. And so that accelerator program, along with your coaching, it was like everything worked together, because it was like an MBA for business people, right? That I had to do. So taking all of that information from there, taking what I was getting from you, it gave me all of the push that I needed to. So one of the things that program did for me also was, okay, let's look beyond the shores. So that was the moment when I'd been talking for years about, I'm not joking, for like a couple of years about how, I want to sell Melia outside of Lagos, outside of Nigeria, I want to sell Melia outside of Nigeria, but I never did anything about it. But when you now take the combination of all of the forces working behind me to make sure that this thing makes sense, right? That was the moment I, actively did something about it, found someone that was like, oh, you know what, let's get into Accra, let's get into Ghana, let's get into the whole space. We mapped out a plan, went into Accra for my first pop-up match of, was it last year? No, was it this year? I can't remember. But long story short, no, this year, we worked towards that, and I was able to do something that I had talked about for 2 years without actually doing anything about it. I think another thing that another thing about having, just this in place is accountability. I'd run this business for so many years without being accountable to anybody. It's my business, it's my business. The money comes in, the money goes out, is my business. Nobody, nobody's checking me. And I remember one of the first meetings that we had when we looked at, the income for the month and how much I had stolen from that business. I remember saying to him, like, I'm so ashamed, and just having somebody that every month I knew was looking at my books outside of myself made me a bit more disciplined. I think that's the word, I think I find that, like, as a lot as business owners, especially sole entrepreneurs, right? It's like, it's my business, it's my money, and that kind of thing. But discipline goes a long way, because I'm spending money that I have no business spending just because there's nobody to check me. But if you have shame, you know that at the end of the month, Tommy is going to be like, where did this money go? Unless it went into investment, it makes no sense. Just that kind of thing. So all of, so it's a combination of getting knowledge. It's a combination of being accountable. It's a combination of becoming a bit more disciplined. And it's a combination of actually putting action to the words and to the things you say that you're going to do. Do you know what I mean? So if I'm going to say it in in a classroom type format, I would say it's all of those things, right? And then also just exploring, just understanding, because, sometimes, right, you think you know it, oh, this fashion is my business. I do this, I do that. But one of the things also working with you did for me was helping me to see other avenues for revenue. Do you know what I mean? So for instance, an opportunity comes up to go and do a pop-up in the UK, and I'm like, oh my goodness, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. And then you said, yeah, Jade, it is money, but you will spend money to make money. By the time you sat with me and we broke it down, this is what you're going to spend. This is what you need to sell. This is how much you need to sell it. This is this is that. I was able to take the leap, and it was a fantastic trip. And I'm glad that I took that leap. But if I was looking at it from my point of view, I'd be like, that kind of money, what if, because I'm not looking at it from a logical, let's break it into numbers space. I'm looking at it from, go and spend all that pounds if the money does not come back, you know, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
so it's all of those things, you know, that kind of like have, you know, come together. But I would say honestly, and I find that this, you know, as a business person, because I've been there, one of the hardest things for business people, especially small businesses like mine, to do is spend money to gain knowledge. Because you're asking yourself, my ROI, what's the return on this investment, you know? Exactly. But I would tell anybody, I'm always preaching it on my page. I'm always like, you see, get knowledge. That thing, get knowledge. And if you have to pay for it, pay to get knowledge, because it's a game changer. You know, I mean, I'm a living testimony. So yeah. So I hope that answers.
Yeah, absolutely. Great answers. Thank you for sharing that. And I want to dig into your business as well, because it's one thing to just say we look at your numbers. One of the key things that for me was even an eye-opener as well, was seeing how much pricing, I mean, the effect pricing has over everything, right? And knowing that we're going through an inflationary state right now in the country, there's so many things happening, prices are going up on a daily basis. It was important that you continue to keep your margins in check. And a lot of business owners don't understand that. Look, if you're not charging correctly, you're probably not earning enough, right? And if you're not earning enough, then you probably won't have anything left over by the time you take out your expenses to now decide that you want to build a portfolio or anything else. And because we're looking at the lines, we're looking at the expense lines, and I was like, I want to keep these margins. I think we keep it between 30 to 40%, some 50%. I'm like, I want to keep these margins. So we're going to have to keep, you know, make sure we stay accountable on this pricing. So we had to build a whole pricing template for you, ensure that you know how you price your pieces. And tell me how that, because for you now, it's so easy. You know exactly how to price. There's an increase in price in fabric, how to price, and your margins are kind of like stable. And that ensures that you're always earning revenue and being profitable and having enough to set aside. So let's dig into that quickly before I get into your portfolio.
Awesome. So yeah, again, one of the biggest things that, you know, that came from, you know, meeting you and working with you was the fact that, again, so as a business person, to a certain extent, I know what I'm supposed to do, but am I going to do it? It's a question. No. Because over the years, I always knew that I needed to get an accounts person on board. But did I do it? No. So it took us working together and you saying to me, Jade, nah, we need to get you an accounts person. You know, it doesn't have to be somebody crazy expensive, but someone that, you know, will look at your books every month, will do this, that. Because these are things that I don't have time to do, to be very honest with you. I'm marketing, I'm trying to do my 9 to 5. I have deliverables at work, I have all of that. So getting someone that looks at my numbers, you know, and breaks it down into a place where we can, that was a major game changer for me, for the business. Like you said, this, you know, we're able to create a template where now, if I have a new product, all I have to do is just go in and enter the figures in there. And this catered, you know, this template's catered for things that as a business person, I never ever thought, I never costed before. I never thought like they were important, you know. So having somebody that's their thing, where they look at it and line by line and that kind of thing, it's changed it. Because to be very honest with you, it's almost like what happened in the first 0 to like maybe 5, 6 years of my business was me. It was a hobby. That's the simplest way to put it. Because when I look at what I'm doing now compared to what I did then, there were things that I was selling for below cost price. But in my head, because people were buying it, I'm like, I'm excited, I'm happy. Because I was looking at it only from the creative side. Because I think there's something that happens to you as a business person where, you know, there's just this innate joy and excitement when you've created something and someone actually likes it and they're willing to pay for it. Sometimes you forget that there's a business to it. It's, oh my God, you love my skirt. Oh my God, and that kind of thing. So that was where I operated for the longest time. So just having someone look at my books, just having that kind of structure in place, you know, accountability, knowing that, you know, I could. So now let me give you an example. For instance, someone had messaged me at work today and said, you know, I'm from Ghana and I want to buy, and sent me about 6, 7 pieces that they wanted to buy. And, you know, first instinct is, oh, we have someone in Ghana that fulfills for us. Can you check with her if the things are available? So she goes, she checks, she comes back and she goes, oh, no, my sizes are not available. I really want this pieces. I'm happy for you to ship them from Nigeria to me. And so I have to give her prices and say this, but my laptop isn't with me. I'm like, Normally, Jade would have done Jade math and just decided that, well,
Let's
let's
just do
pay
that.
this one, Jare, pay this one, Jare. But exactly, because that, because I'm just excited, like, oh my God, But now I'm like, oh, please, ma'am, can you give me a few hours? I'm going to get back to you with the pricing. Because now I'm like, Jade has to go and check her laptop and make sure that this thing is making sense. You know what I mean? So that's the difference, that kind of comes in with you having things in place, making sure that your pricing is right. For as business people, we have to understand that, yes, it's exciting to sell stuff, but it's more exciting to have a successful business. So which means that your pricing, see that pricing thing, it cannot be, because that's the beginning and end of everything. Because if you don't price it right, exactly, you're either shortchanging yourself or you're shortchanging your clients, and that's not a good place to be. So yeah, definitely.
So the time you are changing yourself, because then when you want to go and restock, you find that you have to add more money here, and then you begin to patch up, and it just gets very, very stressful.
Exactly.
Jade, would you call yourself a low risk investor or high risk investor?
Myself?
Yes. What would you call yourself? Low risk or?
I would say that currently I think I definitely fall in the low risk investor space.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you remember, like, our last few conversations, right?
I don't know why
I've become a bit more bold. I'm asking you questions. Exactly. And I would say that in the last.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Finish your sentence. Let me let you finish your sentence. Right.
No, I'm just gonna be like, in the last few months, I can feel a shift, in my head. And now I'm asking you questions about why are we not doing this? Should we put money into this? Yeah, so I think that's what happens. It's kind of like a baby I need to walk.
Yes, I was going to go there, but I thought, let me just take it gently, because I'm just like, this ginger, where is it coming from? It's fine. It's all right. So let's talk about building a portfolio, right? Because one of the things, you're a creative person, you have this business going, and we wanted to make sure that it was clear that this business was going to help you build an investment portfolio. Now, if you've seen any of my previous videos, I'm always big on converting earned income, whether in business or 9 to 5, to portfolio income or passive income. So the goal was to get you into building a portfolio that would earn you additional income. But then with you, it was kind of like also something that was tailored for you, because you had to think about your circumstances, right? And say, what were the right goals for my portfolio? One of the key things you wanted to do was have a child trust fund. You also wanted to make sure that you had a safety fund, those things are kind of like very, 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 very important for anybody's portfolio, especially if you're at a stage of life where you have children and you're considering how to ensure that you can continue to live the life that you want, right? So for us, it started with saying, what do you want? How do we build this portfolio to suit that? Do you want to speak to that quickly before I get into how we're building that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, like my circumstance, what you did for me was literally tailor, the investments to my portfolio, to my life, and what my circumstances were. One of the biggest things for me, like I mentioned earlier, when we started talking, is I've never had to worry about my daughter and education and how she's going to go to school, how she's going to do this. So when, life happened, it became a huge thing for me. And one of the things I said to myself was like, look, even if her father isn't here, I'm going to give her the best education that I can afford, So it was really important to me that one of the things that I did first was make sure that we had some kind of, safety net for her, education-wise. Thank God for, responsible men, even with her father not being here, he's made great provision for education and that kind of thing. But again, I'm also of the opinion of, look, have your own just in case. Do you know what I mean? So thank God for that. Another thing that was really important to me, in like you said, was to have a safety fund of some sort, because life happens, right? Somebody's at a job today and then tomorrow you're not at the job, the company packs up, what do you do? And that wasn't even me, to be very honest. That was more you were very insistent on, Jade, we have to have a safety fund. Until we have the safety fund, we're not doing anything else. So let's build this up, let's make sure that we have this. And so that was really important, because again, I'm a single income household, right? So if anything were to happen, God forbid, are we not going to eat tomorrow? That kind of thing. So that was really important. And then another thing, and again, this is where I say to people all the time that listen, learn, take advantage of the relationships that you have and the people that you know. I got into art a few years ago, right? And that was because, at a point, I was seeing someone that was very big into arts and all of that. And, this dude is buying art like every other 2 seconds. And I remember one day it hit me, and I just remember thinking, and I said, you know what? I like art, but I've always looked at art from I like it perspective, not as investment, not as potential exactly, And again, one day, I think I can't remember what had happened and I remember looking at him and I said, you know what? For my birthdays going forward, do you mind buying me art? Don't worry yourself about what perfume to get me or anything. Just buy me art. And that was where I started my collection from. So, like my first maybe 4 or 5 paintings, were gifts. And then of course, like, oh, okay, because I see these things, I hear things. Oh, I bought this for this amount and I sold it for this amount. I'm like, that's what they do. Okay, now, kind of thing. So it gingered that interest in me that I could combine something that I really enjoyed with it being a potential money, what you call it. So, I those are kind of like, some of the things, so looking at all of that, and yeah, and I think another thing, this is so important. I think when you take the first step and you see the difference, you're like, oh, wow, this is achievable. Oh, so let's take this other step. There's a pride that comes from looking at yourself like, this was me in January and this is me now. So it put things in perspective for you. I promise you, Tommy, where I would have had $5,000 before, and the first thought in my head is, hey, yala yawa in this Lagos, let's go buy Chanel bag. I mean, back in the day when Chanel bag was, you could still get a good bag for 5K, right?
Exactly.
I promise you, 5K before and 5K now. My 5K before would have been like, I'm buying a Chanel bag. We have all arrived in this Lagos. And 5K now, I'm thinking, if I add this here, what's it going to give me in 2 months?
Yeah.
And it's the same me. It's just that in 2 years or in 3 years, my mind has shifted from this thinking this way to thinking this way. And that's what that little tiny growth, that everyday step that you take, that's what it does for you.
So, Jade, you went from basically no portfolio. You had cash in little places, but
let's put it the way it is. Jade, you went from broke by Jade. Like
no, you were not entirely broke because you still had like a lot of video. Let's just make it so bad. Like
let's see. Let me see. You know what? Full disclosure. 3 years ago, if somebody had hit me up and said, "Oh, can you give me 300K?" I didn't have. I didn't have it. I didn't have it.
Same income.
Do you understand? I did not have it in any one place that I could say, "Here, take it."
No, I remember, our first call and Jade, you said you had done like 28 million in the previous year. And I asked what was your cash balance. And I was like, where did all the money go?
It was very sobering. I'm telling you, it was very sobering. Like I remember, I'm not even sure if I cried. I remember sitting there and thinking, what have you done? Like, what have you been doing? Do you know what I mean? And it was, I can't, even now it brings me to tears because I'm thinking to myself, like, geez, we could have been so much further along than we are if I had just had a bit of sense. But like your bad people always say, how do they say it? The day you realize is your morning in the head, the day you wake up is your morning. So yes.
Yes. So yeah, speaking about your portfolio, right? And all of the things that we've put together in your portfolio, you've gone from, let's just say, from almost nothing to 9 figures. And let's say 9 figures in Naira, 6 figures in dollars, right? And now I set a 7-figure dollar goal for you. How do you feel about it?
I'm like, wondering whether you want me to. I'm still wondering. A part of me is like, Tommy still wants me to carry AK-47, but.
Well, I mean, you were also saying that, I mean, in the past few months, I mean, Jade, you've hit me up and says, Tommy, what do you think about it? I'm like, okay, Jade, this is high risk. Are we going into high risk territory right now? or what?
See, that's the problem with people like me. We don't move from high from low. We're not even trying to stop in medium. We just want to enter that.
Exactly, because I know the high risk option that I'm always like, let's get Jade to complete all of these first goals we've set first before we now get into high risk territory. And Jade is like, okay, Jade, are we ready for it? I'm ready when you are, but you know that for me, it's very important that we achieve the first goals first, right? And honestly, I want to say that I'm so proud of you, Jade. I'm so proud of your journey. I talk about you to everybody. Like, Honestly, Jade, I don't know if I've said it before, but I have fired clients, right? I think recently I had to fire someone. Why? Because they're not ready to do the work. It's a lot of work that and discipline and accountable. And just, allowing yourself to be vulnerable and say, I need help and please help me. Not everybody's willing to do that. And initially when I started with here, I thought, okay, this is something I can do. I started with one or two other people. And honestly, I realized that it's not something that is so common. So honestly, I need to give you like really, really high tops of that because you've done so, so well. So I think right now, I want us to just round up with what's your advice to entrepreneurs like you in this season who are creative, running side businesses, or not even seeing their businesses as a tool to build wealth? That's the connection. Because right now, while we're still building up, you are earning portfolio income, right? And the next thing is to push you into the passive income territory, right? And of course, knowing that, okay, we're dealing with inflation and currency devaluation, we're seeing how we can also ensure that your portfolio is pushing you into FX income territory, which is why we encourage you to do the souk in the UK, because that's FX income, right? And we're putting it aside as FX income. So knowing that your portfolio is currently earning portfolio income and moving into that, what's your advice? Knowing that this is who you were before, right? What should they be thinking? How should they be thinking differently? And how should they seek help?
Oh wow, that's a great question and something that I'm super happy to answer. And I want to speak specifically to women because I have a soft spot for women, whether you're in my shoes or you're in different shoes. The tendency for women to run a business as if it's not a business is so high, right? Because we're compassionate people and we're sweet people and we're just we just want everybody around you to be okay. Let me give you an example. So back in the day, I found it really hard to invoice family and friends, right? So somebody close to me says, "Oh, I like that skirt." I'm like, "Oh, you can have it." Do I still do that?
Yeah.
Yes. But is it balanced now? Yes. So for every, "Oh, you can have it," that you get from me, I'm invoicing you for two other things you've asked me for.
Mm-hmm.
And I will send you my invoice with no.
Yeah.
Do you understand? It is a business. Do you know what I mean? So learning to treat my business as a business is very important. I'm learning, and I'm still in the growth phase of it, but I find that every day becomes a bit easier to do. So that's number one. Because again, like I said, the tendency that there's no Maggie in the house. Let's take the business money and buy Maggie. Do I still do that? Yes, but now that Maggie must somebody must really die if they don't have Maggie in their food for me to drop Maggie money from my business. Do you know what I mean? Because exactly, because if not, you can eat the food without Maggie. It should be the salt. Let's move on. Exactly. So that would be one thing. Second thing, like you said, is getting knowledge. A lot of us women, and I still say this for myself, even at this point, we're so scared of numbers that we think that it is this impossible thing. So because we think it's this impossible thing, we just don't want to learn it or be anywhere near it, but it is important because if not, you might as well pack up the business, face your 9 to 5 and just keep it moving. You have to know your numbers. You have to learn. And if you don't have the expertise, then pay somebody. Do you understand what I'm saying? I promise you, I remember, when you gave me your first invoice, right? For your services, I looked at it and I'm like, and that was discounted. I remember, we had discussed it, and your husband had actually even said, "Oh, give her a good discount and all of that and all of that." So it was discounted. But at that time, I remember looking at it and saying, "Ooh la la." But I said to myself, I said, "Jade, you don't understand. This money that you spend, you're going to make it back in a million ways." And that's exactly what happened. To the point where by the time your second invoice came, it blew that one out of the water. I'm like, but again, was it doable? Yes, because you spend money to make money. I think that's something a lot of us business people struggle with, right? You spend money to make money, it is what it is. So get knowledge, treat your business like a business because it is a business. Another thing that I would say is don't be scared. And I know that, this sounds very cliche, right? I've taken steps in the last few years that I was so scared to take because I'm like, if I do this, what if? what if. But look, there are two things that's going to happen. You succeed at it or you don't. But you not even succeeding at it doesn't mean that it's impossible to succeed at. It just means that you have to go and re-strategize. Do you know something that hit me this morning as I was going to work this morning? Just random thoughts as I was going to work this morning. When I wanted to go and do the fashion, the pop-up in the UK, we discussed the numbers, we discussed, what I was going to have to pay in pounds, and, we did the math, and I was very scared of doing it. And you said to me, you were like, you know what, Jade, it's fine, it's doable. Let's break the numbers down, right? And we broke the numbers down. And one of the things that hit me was that not only did I sell well, do you know that some of the people that shop from me there are still shopping now? So this was July, August, September. In 3 months, right? I can tell you how many repeat orders we've had from people that came to shop from the UK that are still shopping now. And these would have been this would have been clients that I wouldn't have had.
Yeah.
They not only shopped while I was there, and then they've referred family and friends. So they've literally helped me grow my income now that I'm back here. So I'm still reaping the fruits of that one pop-up that I did in that kind of thing. So I would say to women that, take risks, right? What's the worst that will happen? It doesn't work, then you learn from it, and then, and then you move on. So it's just a number of different things, but I would say that those are some of my, so some of my top pointers that I would say to people that it will help you move from point A to B. Do people and also know how to measure success? What does success mean to you? Success is yours. It's not like Baja has opened a shop, Tamedo has done 5 million pop-ups, because as women, I think we tend to compare ourselves a lot, and you're measuring yourself by somebody else's yardstick and that kind of thing. Like, this person started on Instagram with me 2 years ago. Now they've opened a multi-million-dollar outlet. Is that your path? Do you understand? Is that what speaks? Does it speak to where you're going? Where are you going? Do you know what I mean? Once you know where, is Melia going to always be an online store? Right now, I don't know, Tommy. Maybe in 2 years, you and I will have a conversation and you say to me, Jade, it's time. And I'm like, oh, is it time? Okay, maybe it's time. Let's, maybe that's not going to happen. What's success to you? What is that goal that you have? And, so I think as women, let's focus on what's your success, what's your path, follow that. Pay for information, pay for knowledge, super important. Treat your business as a business and that kind of thing, and just understand that line, family and friends is fantastic, family and friends discount, but, my business is a business, that kind of thing. And, I'm going to treat it as such. So, I think a few of those things kind of like hopefully will help, women kind of like, guide us on the right path. And another thing I think I've also found, because I used to be guilty of this as well, is I think most women don't want to come across as being money conscious. Oh, I don't want them to see me as money grabbing. I don't want them to see me as greedy. I don't want them to see me as me. Anything you like, see me as. I have school fees. I have child that I want to say. It's me. I know my own kidney. So as long as it's legitimate business, what I'm doing, I'm not killing somebody. I'm not. Anything you want to see me as it's okay. I'm posting at 2 a.m. in the morning for you to come and buy my Leah. You don't used to sleep. No, I don't used to sleep. Do you know what I mean? So it's your men don't joke about their business. They don't.
Yeah.
So exactly? And a man will tell you what he's worth and he would demand it. So why can't I? Why shouldn't I? Why am I a money grabbing, greedy person? Because, I've put this. So own it. It's yours. Own it.
Charge for what you're worth and own it. Just charge for what you're worth and own it. I remember I got invited to a speaking engagement and I sent my speaking fees. And they came back and said, oh, we'd like you. I was like, no, that's it. And if you don't want it, then I sit at my house. I'm sorry. I'm at the point where I'm owning it and you just have to own it at this point.
Exactly. Right? Because other people, men do, and it's not a problem, so we have to get to that point where we own, now when I do my costing for men, back in the day I'll do the costing, then I'll spend 2 hours agonizing over it. Hey, will somebody abuse me? Hey, will somebody this thing? Then I'll have sleepless nights. So no, Now I do the costing. What I know is I'm not going to cheat people. I will price my items fairly, and then it is what it is. Do you know what I mean?
This has
That's
been
it.
a great conversation, Jade. Thank you so much. And just the final one. What should we expect from Melia by Jade for the rest of the year? I mean, I'm sure there are some new pieces that are, listeners or these that are surprising my channel to look forward to. I want them to all go and follow you on your Instagram channel. And please buy something from us.
Yes.
Support
Buy
this.
something from us.
Buy
So
something.
as you know now, so I can pay to me, so buy something.
Right. So please support a female-owned business, right? And honestly, these are lovely, very sustainable pieces as well, made in Nigeria, made in Africa, enabling economic growth and providing jobs, right?
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
from Melia Bajadi for the rest of the year, for Christmas pieces.
I mean, it's it's 3 months to 2.5 months to the end of the year.
We are saying that people should go and budget for it now. So
yes, so yes, they should budget for it now. The truth of the matter is, we also, there's an arm to our business that is about sustainability and about just, being eco-conscious and all of that. So while fashion businesses, they have like, oh, we've released this collection and that collection, and there's collections after collections. We don't necessarily run the business like that. It's slow fashion. So we're very careful about what we're putting out and about numbers, and things like that. Yeah, it's ready to wear, but at the same time, we kind of like look at the data, look at the books to make sure that we're not just churning things out that will end up in landfills and stuff like that. So yeah, so a couple of things are coming out before the end of the year. So that's one. Another thing that I'm really seriously thinking about is how to give back to the community. Melia, shout out to Melia, 18,000, almost 19,000 Instagram fam. You guys are the real MVP.
yes.
And I'm thinking about what's the best way for us to give back to people, our community. So that's really heavy on my mind. Another thing as well, which we've done over the years, is that, there's a charity arm to Melia that I don't talk about often. We've given to women that are undergoing breast cancer treatment. We've given to children, for school and everything. So one of the things that is really heavy on my heart is before the end of the year, I want us to establish, like, formalize it and have some sort of like a foundation arm, right? To Melia, where it's a bit more structured and where the Melia community can have a say in where some of our profit goes into and who it goes to help and things of that nature. So yeah, so in terms of all of those things, those are very big on my mind. In terms of the fashion and all of that, we'll bring it. I'm going to do like styling and, just ways that people can take what they already own, Melia and others, and just, style them to the gods so that when they enter any party in December, I don't know if Tinubu's economy will allow us to be dirty in December, but and even if it's mid dirty December, we do. At least when you step into the room, let them know that you're there, kind of thing. So yeah, there's going to be a whole lot of that. And then watch out for the new year with Madam Tommy on the beat. People don't know.
I am just looking forward to you smashing your 7-figure goal in dollars.
Amen.
Oh my gosh, right? Because here we create our own economy, right? So we're creating our economy backed by faith, doing that God's got our backs, and we're going to make it right. So thanks so much, Jade. This has been such a great conversation. And once again, I am so proud of your journey. And I was so excited to bring you on the channel to just let people hear and see what's possible. So thank you so much. On that note, thank you so much. And bye, everyone. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Bye.